Hi, Christian. So we're seeing, let's see where Hannah and Maria are. There's Maria. Yeah. Hannah, we don't see you here yet. Let's see. Looking to see where Hannah is. Do you hear me, Christian? So you're on mute. You don't hear me. Okay, I don't hear you either. Maria, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Christian, you're on mute, and let's just see where Hannah is. So
She wrote the chat that she's trying to get on the camera. So
okay,
she's here.
All right, so you're here. Let me also, Hannah, let me send it your way. Christian, you seem to be on mute, so let me see if I can unmute you. One moment. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for your patience here. This is our first breakout of this, of the entire summit. So we're having a little bit of challenges here, but we'll get it sorted. Thanks so much for your participation, your patience. Let me just see here where Hannah is, because she had so many. We don't want to lose her here. Ah, there she is. Hi, Hannah. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. We got
Just
lost in cyberspace somewhere. That's okay. We're all back together. Christian is working out his mic. Let me see if I can unmute him. Unmute. Christian, I'm trying to unmute you, but you seem to be muted from your side. Let tech know and see if they can help out. Let's see. All right. Christian, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that that gets sorted. I've tried to unmute you. Let's see. Maybe you want to go out and come back in, Christian? See if that works out. Maybe that will
work for me. I had to do it 3 times and it worked.
Oh my goodness. Okay, next time we'll stick with the plenary the plenary technology. That worked really well. All right, everyone, it's so great to have you back. We've got, I think, several viewers here with us, which is really, really exciting. I'm going to see if I can find out where those questions are that people are going to be shooting our way. But maybe while we're waiting for some questions to come in, and please, everybody, as you have questions, send them our way. We want to hear from you. This is a session that's for you. I've got lots of questions, so I'm going to continue here while we're waiting for those questions to roll in from other people. For those of you who are just joining here, just so that you know, we're continuing here from the plenary session. We have Hannah Shakide from Youth Engagement Specialist in the Generation Unlimited Global Team with us. We have Maria Rahamagi with us, founder of Edmus in Estonia and a Junior Achievement alumni, and Christian Scharf, who I hope will be coming back to us very quickly. He is the advisory partner and human resources lead at PwC. We have this session for 30 minutes, and then we'll wrap up. And for those of you who want to continue in another session after that, we welcome you with open arms to do that. So, ladies, while we're waiting for Christian to come back, we didn't get to finish our conversation that we were having there about lifelong learning. So why don't we just do that and put Maria on the spot? Maria, as an entrepreneur, maybe 2 questions here for you. How important is continual learning, lifelong learning for you as an entrepreneur? And assuming it's important, what do you do to keep your knowledge and skills up to date?
Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, continuous learning is absolutely essential, because you can't put the toolbox together to be set for life but rather entrepreneurship life is full of constant change and learning. And yeah, this is the only way we can kind of keep up. And how do I keep learning then is firstly, I always see if there's what kind of new tasks should we do and how can we do them more efficiently. And that always involves some learning. And also now I have gotten myself a mentor who helps me to realize maybe those things that sometimes go unnoticed by myself, to keep an eye on and keep me accountable for the goals that I have set myself.
I love that thought, keeping you accountable for the goals that you've set for yourself. I'd like to come back to that point in terms of learning and keeping yourself up to date. I think it's a really important point. Hannah, you spoke previously about the various activities that Generation Unlimited is offering and supporting young people with in terms of skilling and upskilling. What is Generation Unlimited focusing its efforts on?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for the question. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, Generation Unlimited, first and foremost, just for everyone to understand, it's a public-private youth platform hosted initially by UNICEF with a wide range of partners from the private sector, government, civil society, youth-led organizations, young people themselves, all rallied together with the idea of skilling and connecting the world's 1.8 billion young people that you mentioned to opportunities for employment, and social impact. Perhaps an additional thing to mention, since Christian is also here, is that PwC is also one of our key partners at Generation Unlimited, with the chairman of PwC being heading the board of Generation Unlimited as well. So we have a whole range of partners focusing on the skilling of young people. We're currently present in 47 countries and essentially all across the 7 regions. In terms of the goals of Generation Unlimited, particularly in the future, the idea is to act as a catalyst by working with a range of stakeholders, both public and private, on a youth engagement platform aimed at creating a wider impact and equitable opportunities for young people through enhanced employability and earnings potential. It also aims to provide young people with pathways to emerge as active change makers in society, with a deeper understanding of the labor market and the skills needed to navigate it. So with that in mind, we have a range of initiatives, global, regional, and at local level, that we work with exclusively in a coalition of partners to really get to this ambitious goal that we have. Just a couple of quick examples. We have a partnership with Microsoft on digital skilling, where we aim at reaching 10 million young people by 2025 with trainings and digital certificates. We have another one with DSM on equipping and boosting youth agripreneurship in the food processing industry in Africa, with PwC in India, and so on. So it's really a coalition of partners aimed at catalyzing impact for young people in this space.
I love that fact, that you are partnering with other organizations who bring certificates, who bring different kinds of programs in that you can leverage depending upon the country and where you are, that young people can tap into to support their upskilling. As we're talking about skilling and we've been talking about technology in general, one question that I have in the back of my mind is, digital transformation is leading to the automation of a lot of jobs, right? Several of which used to be entry-level jobs for young people. Here I'm thinking about even a cashier, right? Or in manufacturing. As you're supporting young people enter the world of work at Generation Unlimited, what kinds of entry-level jobs do you think that young people should be looking to get their work experience?
Well, it certainly depends on context. I'm really not a big fan of the cookie cutter approach. I think every young person should make use of digital skilling, which at present is bigger and more impactful than it has ever been, and identifying skills that they need to really complete the kind of skill set they need for the initial stages of their career. But beyond that, I would say that the types of entry level jobs will depend also on where the young person is and the availability of jobs at the local context. With that being said, there's more and more jobs and gigs in the gig economy also that are online. So I would say some of the skills that are absolutely crucial for a young person to enter the job market and to progress through the job market is digital literacy. Really having proficiency in navigating the digital space, as well as entering into the AI and coding space at a later stage. One would be that. And the additional one that I think is impressively important, and it's also featured in the report from World Economic Forum that Kathleen, you just mentioned earlier, some of the crucial skills for top jobs in 2025 are transferable skills. And what I mean by transferable skills are critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, ability to innovate, entrepreneurial skills. Essentially, it's the types of skills that one needs regardless of what profession you end up doing and what kind of entry level job you end up doing. So I would say identify the skills that are really important for the future of work and for the present of work as well, and start there, and then look at the context and the availability of jobs, both local and digital, that a young person can have. So without naming actual professions, that's what I would say would be really important for young people.
Awesome. Thanks for that. All right, we have a question here from Gift Kangali, who says to us, I'm enjoying the session. Thank you for this gold information. I'm a student and an environmentalist. How do you identify opportunities for lifelong learning? So how do you identify them? And how do you classify or define them as useful? Maria, what are your thoughts on that? So the question is, how do you know what to study? How do you identify opportunities for lifelong learning? So maybe you can even speak from your own experience. And how do you classify them as useful?
Yes. Well, I think that having studied economics, I'm really market economy, and it's really difficult to kind of go based on what is really useful and where there's lots of demand. I would go by your passion and find something that you like to work with and is useful firstly in your own community, for example. So if you want to this first job, it might be in a local like brick and mortar, some kind of a shop, but it might be a digital job already as well. Maybe you can Photoshop nice pictures for some local store or something like that. So yeah, I lost my trail of thought now.
But I think you're making a really good point, you know, and this kind of links with what Hannah was saying, is that, you know, not every location is the same. You know, one also has to think about what are the employment opportunities and, you know, the skills opportunities that are local.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important how you yourself are feeling. Like, if you are just doing something which is really much in demand but are not enjoying it, then what's the point of life in there? So find something that you're passionate about, and others will start appreciating it as well. And for example, if I have found express my entrepreneurship in education, there's actually quite a lot of demand over here, so that's making this experience much more enjoyable. So yeah, following your passion, seeing what other people are appreciating, and I think in the mix of that will be the kind of golden way to go.
Awesome. Now, I think following your passion is something that is increasingly important, particularly for, as we hear about millennials and Gen Z. So right where you are, it's not just about making money. It's not just about, you know, if we have the luxury, you know, we need to remember that the situation that young people are in differs around the world, but where there's an opportunity, follow your passion think that's very important. So we have a few other comments and questions. We have one who came in from Cassandra Thomas from British Columbia, Canada, who says, our YMCA is in a community with many post-secondary education opportunities for youth. How can the YMCA better position ourselves to support graduates from these institutions? So young people in many post-secondary education opportunities, how can the YMCA better position ourselves? Hannah, can I look to you for that? Because, you know, I think Generation Unlimited is very, very well positioned, and you are really expanding yourself and, you know, in this space to serve young people. You know, YMCAs have traditionally been very, very local, and now they're looking really for more and more ways to create value for young people in this space of education and employment. What do you have on how YMCAs can better position ourselves for graduates?
Yeah, I personally am a big believer that no single organization has all the answers and has all the skills and abilities and opportunities to place the 1.8 billion young people in the right pathways to successful transition to the labor market. With that said, I would say that bringing together a series of organizations, a series of private sector entities, a series of youth-led institutions, bring them all together so they can all bring their competitive advantages, they can all bring their expertise, tools, and above all, networks. That is how you can can YMCA or any other organization be positioned to support graduates of their institutions to move forward in the labor market. Not even a private sector entity can do that on their own. It's about bringing together all the strengths of a network of grassroots organizations at the local level, bringing the organizations of the level of PwC or Unilever that have the capability to hire young people, bringing in the UN that has the equity agenda, bringing in all of the different crucial components together, creating a global but also a local coalition of partners that can place the school to work transition in the right frame. I think that would be the answer. I know it's perhaps a strategic and high-level answer, but I think coalitions of partners are the answer to solving the issues that young people have with the future of work and with the current situation of work as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate and value tremendously the comments that you've just made, Hannah. Maybe I'll go over to Maria really quick for a response too, but just one thought on this. I mean, based on also, Maria, your experience working with junior as a part of junior achievement, but maybe really just one comment too, building on what you said, Hannah, is maybe two things. One, the fact that ultimately employment is local, most of the time anyway. And the second is that employers create job opportunities. And so when you're a youth-based organization interested in supporting young people to enter the labor market and to enter meaningful jobs in their communities or elsewhere, building that kind of a collaboration and coalition with other organizations as well as with local employers can be a wonderful way to help fast track that transition and ensure as well that young people are actually gaining employability skills and gaining relevant skills to meet the local labor market demands, but also not forgetting, as you mentioned as well, the global context, which can sometimes also be a very powerful motivator for people locally as well, to understand that they are working within the context of a United Nations effort, which is very interested in supporting employability and getting young people into decent jobs. Maria, if I can invite you to reflect on this question as well, having been in junior achievement and being a junior achievement alumni, how can the Ys better position themselves to support graduates?
I think organizations such as ours should think of themselves as kind of ones which need to create the ecosystem of opportunities. And that can be creating or enabling network generation or internships or courses or all those really one-to-one connections which can become gateways for future careers or maybe entrepreneurship opportunities. So I think creating opportunities would be the key takeaway from here for me.
Fantastic. Let's see if we can get Christian off of his mute button. Is that working now? Otherwise, Christian, if not, a little possibility here is to enter your thoughts in the chat if we can't hear you, and I can read them out loud. So on either of these issues, I mean, there's the agripreneur, the environmental issue, which skills should young people be learning? And the second one, and I'd like to come back to you anyway, Christian, afterwards on this regarding the YMCAs, how they can better position themselves to be real key players for young people in the local context. So we'll wait for Christian to answer here in the chat, as we can't get him off, unfortunately, mute. But in the meantime, what I'll do is go over to a third comment that's been made by, let me see, I've lost it here, by Colin. I've lost this comment, here we go, right. Colin, who said that, Hannah, you've made a great point about critical skills. Some of these skills are difficult to put into qualifications. And Colin was wondering if you have any thoughts on how we can recognize achievements that young people have, maybe their skills as well, in a way that is relevant for employers. So maybe what is your experience in that? Do you give certificates? Do you, how do you otherwise recognize through Generation Unlimited the skills that young people are gaining in a way that is relevant for employers? That's how I understand this question.
The question is to me?
No, to Hannah. Sorry, this was a question to Hannah. Yeah.
Okay.
You repeat, there were a couple of, I couldn't hear all of it.
Okay, Julie's me. So Colin is asking if you have any thoughts about how we can recognize the achievements of young people in a way that is relevant for employers. So maybe they're doing some upskilling, maybe they're doing some courses. What kind of certificates or what kind of recognition do employers want to see so that these kinds of skilling initiatives or the achievements that young people have are relevant to employers?
Kathleen, that's a really important question. I think certifications are certainly one of the key things that one should aim at pushing forward. I think a lot of young people have the chance to volunteer. A lot of young people have the chance to do micro work, gigs, skills-based learning, and so on, but they lack the ability to signal through certifications that they have that certain skill. And I think certifications are certainly, combined with credential are certainly the way that young people can signal that they have the right set of skills to do a certain kind of work. One of the things that GenU, together with a local coalition of partners, has been doing in Africa is essentially building upon a blockchain certified certifications, in a sense where a young person does a micro task or does volunteering work or does a certain skill building activity in a blockchain protected format. The young person then gets this digital CV online where the employers or the organizations for which the young person has volunteered essentially can certify that they've gone through this particular skill building activity or gig or micro work, in a sense that the more the young person does, the more their digitally certifiable CV is online and can continue to be built. So I think that's a really important element. Certifications, preferably certifications that can be essentially certified by the private sector entities or organizations that the young people have had the experiences with.
Brilliant. And Christian has just come in to say on this point that there are many free online platforms. Microsoft or Cisco, for example, are providing free and recognized training. Take this opportunity to freely upskill at your rhythm. Tomorrow, we're going to hear from groups like Salesforce, representatives from Salesforce, And we'll have an entire session from HP Life, who will be telling us exactly, Christian, as you said, and Hannah too, about free programs that they're offering to young people around the world so that they can gain those technology skills. I just want to come back to a few other points that Christian has put here into the chat. He said that a learning mentality and daring to take the steps of being self-employed, clearly for the first time, is a bit scary, but bear in mind that half of the working population will be freelance, hence entrepreneurial by 2027. Oh my goodness, so it sounds, Maria, like you're just a trendsetter here. You're setting the pace for others to follow. I think a lot of people will be looking to you shortly to see how do you do this. Christian also has mentioned that it's important to blend sources of knowledge and learning, employer, self-learning, working aside of work for associations, for example. Let's see, he goes on to say communities are important, networks, and I think this is something, Maria, we talked about at one point in time, being curious. I like this point. Being curious is key. And maybe as we move into a future of work, which is in constant flux, being curious and staying curious is going to be key. So we just have a few more minutes in this particular breakout session. And I'm going to ask you all here for some advice. In fact, I'm going to ask you, as we part ways with our nearly 50 members of our breakout session audience, what advice do you have to them to empower young people, whether they're young people or whether they're people such as our colleague here, Cassandra, and also Colin from WISE? What advice do you have to them as young people prepare for a world of work and transformation? Maybe Maria, I'll go to you first, then Hannah, and we'll give Christian time to write his answers into the chat. So Maria, for young people, what kind of advice would you have? And for maybe older people, adults or people who are working with young people, what kind of advice would you have?
I think it's applicable for all, that find and surround you with people who inspire you, and find thus mentors. It can be really informal, so just somebody inspiring who you don't really want to let down, or you can make it more formal as well and kind of agree that somebody will be mentoring you and you will be kind of accountable for them. So yeah, I think that would be my main one.
Thank you, Maria. So we've lost Hannah for now. So Christian, it's over to you. Let me see what you're writing here in the chat. Let's see. And I have a very nice long comment as well to read, everyone. All right, I like this one. Christian, choose an employer that matches your values. It's a very, very powerful point. I'm going to read you just a couple of other comments that have come through. It is incredibly important, this is from Carolina Amador, it's incredibly important to implement spaces and opportunities for young people to expand the importance of learning. And one of the most important things is to have a dignified and equitable education as a right for all. I think this is something that you would both agree with. Schindler Navansky says, thank you for the great session. I'm a Ugandan entrepreneur and very passionate about research, mostly within the agricultural sector. We're often hindered by the limited availability and quality of extensive data on various indicators that would inform decision makers and business personas. I'd like to fill in this gap, but there seems to be a lot of components and stakeholders. His setback is that he's not yet nailed down where to start from. Any advice for me? So maybe if we could take that last question, just to nail things down, and then we'll wrap it up. It's a piece of advice. Kristen, do you have any advice on how he might narrow things down? Maybe while we're waiting for Christian to come through on this one, Christian also says he doesn't think that one is in a weak position. Employers are 80% thinking that it's hard to find talent. So I think that that's a very, very important point to make, that, you know, as someone who's looking for employment, we're not in a weak position. We're actually in a position of strength, and that we should discuss, you know, as a person looking for a job, discuss learning opportunities up front. Fantastic. Colin comes back and says, brilliant session, everyone, and great speakers. And thanks for leading us. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy. I've learned a lot from all of you, from Hannah too. Kiss to you out there. I hope everything is well. We didn't just lose you, but that this is the beginning of a discussion, both with Generation Unlimited, with Christian at PwC, with Maria. I know that we're going to hear a lot more from you coming up and the great stuff that you're doing. And I would just like to thank you for joining us here in this breakout session. And you're welcome to join another session afterwards, and we'll keep going. Christian, Maria, thank you very much. Hannah out there, thanks too. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.